Hey, what the hell is happening with you in the face? How are you? Good to see you. Watch out, there's a bat behind you. Gonna bite you in the face. Hi. Hey, it's Nick Digilio. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, hit, all that shit you're supposed to do. Like it, subscribe it, spread the word, tell your aunt and uncle and your brother dickhead. Also, most importantly, check out my Patreon page. Please give, donate. It helps me keep my stories going, my videos going, and my podcast, a separate thing, but it helps me to live so that I can do my podcast. You'll be helping me out a great deal if you go and donate now to patreon.com/NickDShow. Become a patron. It helps. Every little bit helps. Pick a tier, donate, and it keeps everything going. And you get bonus material, bonus videos, behind-the-scenes stories over what happened at WGN, and much, much more. There's a bunch of videos there that only patrons can have access to. So donate now. Become a patron. Help out. It's a great, great thing. Please help out. Patreon.com/NickDShow. Go there now. Help me out. All that cool stuff. My podcast, it's the Nick D Podcast, part of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday. All right. Hi. Good to see you. You're looking svelte and good and awake and aware. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying, but hi. Hey, there's a main focus on this video for this insane, obscure 70s movie I wanted to mention. But the reason I got there, my brain works. It takes a mountain of scientists and psychiatrists to try to figure out what's going on in this empty little piece of jelly between these two idiotic ears. There's a lot of shit in there that doesn't seem to work like normal people and their brains work, especially at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. But anyway, after seeing The Thing last night, I was out till midnight seeing The Thing again, reuniting with my old buddy Ryan Oliver. Great to see him. We all wore our Thing t-shirts. It was the final 4K presentation at the Music Box last night. I saw it 4 times in 6 days, the 4K presentation at the Music Box of John Carpenter's The Thing. Magnificent. Awesome. Anyway, it was, out late last night. It was rainy and wet and windy, and I took the bus home, and I was tired when I got home, and then I kind of fell asleep, and then I woke up. It was 3 o'clock in the morning-ish, and then I look on my phone. I'm scrolling through the phone. I know you're not supposed to do that if you're trying to sleep, but I was scrolling through the phone. I saw that Robert Morse died. Robert Morse, a terrific actor who got his start, basically, originating the lead role in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. He originated that on Broadway and then did the film, and then went on to have a ton of other memorable roles in TV, in movies, on stage. He won a Tony for his performance as Truman Capote in the play True, which I saw on Broadway, and he was amazing in it. I saw him on that. People know him from Mad Men. He did voiceover work in a lot of cartoons and some sort of legendary stop-motion holiday films, Christmas and Easter holiday specials, I should say, holiday specials. Did that. Appeared in a ton of movies and a ton of things. And one of the things that I remember him most, though, was this obscure little, really pretty terrible Disney movie called The Boat Knicks. If you're around my age, you might remember this movie. It came out in 1970, and it was one of the first in a series of really terrible, shitty live-action Disney movies. Because in the 60s and into the 70s, and even into the 80s, Disney wasn't doing animation. They weren't known for their animation at that time. Long before Pixar became a thing. They were just Disney Studios, and their animation department was gone, and they really didn't do any of that kind of stuff. They gave up on it. They had the weekly Wonderful World of Disney series was pretty shitty and corny, and at that time they were not doing the sort of amazing work that they would start doing again in the late 80s and up until now with Disney and then the offshoot of Pixar. And in the glory days of the 30s and 40s and the 50s, and even into the 60s a little bit, of their animation. So in the 70s, it was a dark period. The 70s and 80s were a pretty fucking dark period for the Disney studios because they did these really shitty live-action, wacky, family-friendly comedies. Joe Flynn was in a lot of them. Kurt Russell got his start, speaking of The Thing. Kurt Russell got his start doing shitty Disney live-action comedies. And there were a whole series of them. No Deposit, No Return. It was just there was a bunch of really... The North Avenue Irregulars started really popular with, like, they did the Herbie movies for Disney, which were kind of fun. And then it would continue. Gus, the mule that would kick fucking field goals. That was another one. So in the 70s, it was really bad. And you would see all of these really shitty live-action Disney studio comedies at the Will Rogers. If you're from Chicago, Belmont and Central was this movie theater called the Will Rogers. That's where you saw all the Disney movies, from the animated stuff all the way through, but especially those really fucking terrible 70s and early 80s live-action, Phil Silver's, Joel Silver, Joel Flynn, Don Knotts, the Apple Dumpling Gang, all these really shitty live-action Disney movies. And the Boat Knicks was one of those. It was from 1970, and it was with Stephanie Powers. Phil Silvers was in it. Norman Fell was in it. Don Amici was in it. And it was wacky and stupid. Just fits the bill for all of those really terrible, terrible, awful live-action wacky comedies from the 70s that Disney put out. But the star of the movie was Robert Morse. And Robert Morse, who I mentioned passed away, an amazing actor, was on Mad Men and so many other things. Remember him from other things, so many other things. But he was a character actor, did a lot of great work, also a great stage actor. He passed away. But I remember him from the Boatniks, which is an obscure little movie. And I remember him because I thought he was great in it. I was a little kid when I first saw it. And he totally reminded me of Jerry Lewis. Like, his performance in the Boatniks is like late 60s era Jerry Lewis kind of performance. The physicality, the line reading, the way he looked, the fact that Stephanie Powers was interested in him. Because, like Jerry Lewis always got hot leading ladies in his movies. And in the late 60s, Jerry Lewis was doing a lot of those, Hook, Line, and Sinker, all that, Who's Minding the Store, all that stuff in the late 60s. And Robert Morse's performance in The Boatniks, I loved it. And I saw it a million times. And even as an adult, I go back and I watch it, it's a terrible movie. Again, terrible Disney live-action movie. But I loved him in it because he reminded me so much of Jerry Lewis. So he could do anything, man. The guy could sing, he could act, he could do everything. Passed away. He was 90 years old, God bless him. But Robert Morse passed away. But the one movie that I remember him from is this obscure, stupid little 70s Disney movie called The Boatniks. That's what I remember him for. But then it got me to thinking about like obscure 70s movies that maybe people hadn't seen. Like Planet of Dinosaurs. I think some people have seen it. Classic piece of shit. Classic piece of garbage from the 70s. Low budget movie with sort of ridiculous but Ray Harryhausen sort of stop motion effects. He didn't do it, but it was inspired. Ray Harryhausen inspired effects. They crash land on this planet. It's got dinosaurs, and it's ridiculous. If you've not seen Planet of Dinosaurs, do yourself a favor. If you want to see an obscure, hilarious, ridiculous, so bad it's awesome sci-fi special effects dinosaur movie, Planet of Dinosaurs, Planet of Dinosaurs, 1977. Check it out. So, The Boatniks with Robert Morse is a movie that I remember loving Robert Morse in because he did like a Jerry Lewis performance. And then Planet of Dinosaurs is another one. But then my brain went to, I remember this movie called The Baby. Now, I did not, before I cut this video, I did not do any research on it. I'm going to Google it after I cut this video. I'm doing this video based upon my memory of it and me seeing it as a kid and then maybe a little bit later. I haven't seen it probably 30 years, probably. About 30 years. I mean, that would be 1992, so even more than that. But it was a movie that I saw back in the 70s, and I saw it a few other times. I saw it on VHS. And it's this movie called The Baby, and it's from 1973. And I remember Ted Post directed it. Now, Ted Post was a guy who directed a bunch of shit, a ton of TV stuff, bunch of movies. He was like a sort of a workhorse director. He directed everything. He directed a bunch of, he directed a few Dirty Harry sequels. He did Magnum Force and a couple of, I think he did The Enforcer maybe. He also did a couple of Planet of the Apes movies. This was a guy that in the 70s, Ted Post worked a lot. He did westerns, he did genre movies, he did crime movies, comedies. Ted Post was one of those guys whose name you would see, particularly in the 70s, on sort of genre movies of the 70s. Worked with a ton of great actors, ton of great actresses, and was a solid 70s director. He was the kind of guy, he was a workhorse. He did every kind of thing that you could, and he also did TV, Ted Post. But he directed this insane fucking movie called The Baby. And the plot was this, and I'm not making this up. Again, I'm doing this all from memory, remembering the movie because I was thinking, oh, the Boat Knicks, that's an obscure 70s movie that I love that nobody else probably, likes. And that's what I'm remembering Robert Morse for. So then I was thinking of other ones. The Baby, 1973. Here's the plot. It's about a social worker, okay, who takes on the case of a woman, an older woman, who has two grown daughters, and a baby that she has. But the baby, as this social worker finds out as she investigates the case, is a full-grown man. He's a full-grown man, like in his 30s, but is dressed like a baby. He sleeps in a crib. He wears diapers. He goo-goos and gee-goo-gagas. And if I remember correctly, they actually dubbed actual baby noises that the actor voiced. Like he would, and it was ga-goo-goo-goo-gee-gee. And so it was this regular, like, 30-year-old dude who they kept treated like a baby. They suckled him. They fed him with a bottle. He slept in a crib, played with blocks, nothing. Couldn't talk, couldn't walk, crawled, tried to stand up, would fall down. And this mother and the overbearing sisters, the older adult sisters, all treated him like a baby. And like the social worker came in and was like, well, clearly this is a weird case. Here's a grown woman with her two adult daughters, and their brother is... They didn't even give the guy a name. If I'm not mistaken, they only called him Baby. They never called him anything but Baby. And he was this adult and and slept in a big, crib. And they would fucking suckle him, and their weird shit would happen. Like one of the sisters would sneak into the baby's room in the crib and wear a negligee, and then the scene would cut away. If I remember correctly, and there was a fucking cattle prod involved. Like the mother would like hit this baby, this 30-year-old baby with a cattle prod when he was bad. And then like this, so the social worker clearly is like, well, shit, I got to get this adult 30-year-old guy who's in diapers, and get him out of there. And then so she takes the baby, adult male, out, but then like kidnaps him. And then, if I remember correctly, she kills the mother and the sisters because listen to this. This is what I remember. She takes the kid the 30-year-old man who is a who doesn't talk, in diapers, baby guy, can't walk, blocks, the whole thing, 30-year-old adult body, but kidnaps him from the mother and the two adult sisters, brings him home where she's got her crazy-ass mother, who's an older woman, at that point, like in her 60s, because this woman is like in her 20s or something. She kidnaps the baby man, brings him home. Then the mother and the mother and the two adult sisters try to get the baby back, and the girl fucking murders the women, murders the mother and the two sisters, and buries them in the back where she's having a pool installed. And then at the end of the movie, the girl, the social worker, who's now murdered these three women, the baby's sisters and mother, and buries him in the back. Then the pool gets built, and at the very end of the movie, you realize that her husband, this social worker's husband, is also a baby man. So she comes in and goes, hi, and her husband, is like got a little stock cap on, and he's going goo gaga. He's playing with blocks. Like, here I brought home a playmate for you. And so she brings in the baby 30-year-old man that she kidnapped from the women that she now murdered and is buried in the pool. She brings the baby man back to be a playmate to her fucking husband, who is also a 30-year-old baby man. Now, I'm not making this up. And then the movie ends with her cuddling with the two baby men. Her husband, who is a 30-year-old man dressed as a baby in diapers going goo, and her new playmate, who she kidnapped from a mother and two sisters, murdered them. And then there's a pool party at the end of the movie with the two baby men, her husband and the new playmate, and then the mother-in-law, the older mother, her mother, sitting poolside smoking a cigarette, and they're like dancing around at the end with the babies. the baby men, and then that's the end of the movie. And I remember seeing the movie, and I saw it again on VHS years later. But I remember, like, what the fuck is this? Even when I was a kid and I saw the movie, it came out in '73, so I probably saw it in the theater. I was probably 8, 9 years old when I saw it, and then I saw it a couple of times on TV, and then on VHS. We were high or something, and we watched it. My friends and I did. I haven't seen it in over 30 years, and I want to go back and watch it. And this is all from my memory. That's how much of an imprint this insane-ass movie has made. But at the end of the movie, the social worker, for Christ's sake, turns out to have a baby man for a husband who she treats as a baby, and kidnaps this other baby man, and the two men who can't walk, they shit themselves, they're babies, they're playing at the end. And the dead mother and the sisters are buried under the pool, and the social worker and the other woman are all happy. We've got our 30-year-old baby men to play. That's the fucking movie. And it was rated PG, if I remember correctly. I saw it at the goddamn Commodore Theater on Irving, not very far from where I live right now. The Baby. Look it up. And I'm telling you, I'm going to, as soon as I stop this video, I'm going to Google it to see if anybody else remembers this movie, and to see if anybody is, I don't know. But anyway, it's called The Baby. I assure you it's real. I don't have a copy of it. I don't know if it's available again. I will be doing research. But this movie popped into my head. All the memories came rushing back like it was a fucking acid trip. But I swear to God, it's real. The Baby, 1973. Nobody starred in it that I remember. There are no stars in it. I just remember that Ted Post directed it. That's the only thing that I remember. The guy who directed Magnum Force and, Battle for the Planet of the Apes directed it. So, anyway, check it out. Obscure movies. I thought of it because Robert Morse died. The first movie I thought of was the Boat Knicks. Obscure. And that brought me to the Planet of Dinosaurs. But then it immediately came rushing back to me was The Baby. So check it out if you want some family viewing. PG, cattle prods, incest, murder, 30-year-old men shitting their pants and acting like babies and go-go-gaga suckling women. It's insane, and it was rated PG, and it was released in theaters. And I saw it on the screen. 70s, baby. So anyway, rest in peace, Robert Morse, I guess.